How's it going? Thought I'd do a bit of an update on the Kang because a couple of viewers have been asking about it. So I thought I'd start with the soil one here. The soil one did fair to average over summer, I think. Unfortunately, because it's in a soil pot and its only water source was a tray that the base of it's sitting in, I don't think it had done as well as it could have. I'm actually going to make up a little bit of a wicking bucket that I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to repot this one. As it's winter now, it's pretty much all receiving full shade, as you can see, after about 2:45 in the afternoon. So there's another bit of a reason why I want to pot him up, and I'm going to move him around the north side of the house so he gets the winter sun. It didn't do as well as the Aquaponic Kang, mainly not so much because of the nutrients, but because it did dry out once or twice, and I think that pretty much all stunted its growth. I'll take you over now and show you the plants in the Aquaponic. Well, that's the beds as they stand now. As you can see, the Kang over the back has had a very big haircut, and so is this one here. They used to take up this whole area here. It used to be covered with just the Kang, so much so that they smothered the small little water chestnuts that were over there. We've been enjoying the Kang in a lot of things like stir fries, curries. Bianca's had a couple of branches in vegetable smoothies, and also just great in salads, just the leaves. They do look like they're starting to die back a bit, but then again we're also in winter now, so things have cooled down a bit and they're not doing as well as they could, I suppose. Down here, I'll just show you some of the seed pods we've got forming on here. So these are what the little seed pods look like. They're very green at the moment. The others I accidentally pulled off while I was just trimming these little bushes back. This one here is the one I'm going to keep just because he can trail down the side here. This one over here pretty much will be coming out soon. He was growing up and shading out all the plants over in this grow bed and coming all over here and crushing this water chestnut, so he will be coming out very soon as well. But on overall, I was really impressed with the way these guys grew and the amount of greens they produced. They just got a little bit aggressive and, like I said, took over this whole bed here. So what I'm going to do now is transplant this one into a bit of a wicking bucket. So I'll grab the bits and pieces and I'll show you how I'm quickly going to make that up. So this container here is one that I've used before. It's about a 15 litre, or I think it's just over 4 gallon bucket. It's basically an old wicking bucket I made up. We did an experiment with some tomatoes in earth buckets versus tomatoes in wicking buckets, and yeah, this is the bucket from that. It already has holes in it, drainage holes in it, and it has a couple of holes drilled in it so I can zip tie the feeding spout. This is the slotted ag line that I like to use to make the reservoirs out of. What it is, it's a pipe with little slots in it. It's designed to collect water behind retaining walls or any damp spots. The water seeps into the pipe and is carried away. I'm using it in reverse. I'm filling up the pipe so we can let the water out and, yeah, into the sand area, and then from the sand be wicked up into the soil. At the end, at one end of this, I like to cut a bit of a slot out. That lets me tuck the tail into the other end to make a little bit of a donut shape, and I just secure that in place with a zip tie. It also leaves me with a bit of a hole here that I can put a feeder pipe in. I've cut a bit of a bevel off at the end, and that's just to help the water come out of this pipe a little bit more freely. This just sits down in this little slot here, and it allows the water to fill up in the reservoir. The only other thing I'm going to do is actually cover this with some woven weed mat. It's a woven textile, and it's normally used to stop weeds from coming up from under pebbled areas or just walking paths in the garden that you put wood chip over and that sort of thing. I use it as a bit of a filter. It just stops the sand from falling into these little holes here and clogging up the reservoir. So I've just wrapped the weed mat around the top of the donut, and we're just going to pop him in and push him down to the base. So that looks fairly good in there. Now it's just a matter of filling him up with some sand. So this stuff here, it's bedding sand. This is actually coming out of a wicking bed I'm moving at the moment. Just like to poke the sand down in all the gaps. It means it won't settle later. So there we go. We have a nice layer of sand that comes just above the drainage hole on the side here. So I'm just going to zip tie this little fill pipe into place now, just so he doesn't move around. Well, I've got all my soil and that ready, but just before I add that, I'm going to put a layer of sugarcane mulch I just like to add that in there just to gives a bit of a separation and helps the water wick up. The organic matter helps the water wick into the soil a bit better from the reservoir, I think. That's my opinion. Now, all I'm pretty much all going to be doing is putting the contents of this pot straight into here. So I will be adding a little bit of worm castings, just some that we've collected, and also probably about half a cup actually, of a complete organic fertiliser with trace minerals in the form of rock dust in there as well. I've just put the worm cast and the fertiliser in there, but I think I've put in a little bit too much for now, so I'm just going to pull some of it out and just leave a shallow layer on the bottom there. Some nice healthy roots there. This soil here is just going to go down the sides. Just trying to funnel him down the gaps here. Try not to waste too much of it. So there we go. Hopefully she'll be nice and happy in there. I'm just going to fill it up with a bit of water. I'll probably use water from the Aquaponics system actually, and we'll pop that around the side of the house, and then I'll take you around there and show you where I've set it up. For now it's just going to sit down here beside the red pawpaw and the garlic barrel at the back stairs, and as you can see he's getting a little bit of afternoon sun here. So now it's just a matter of filling him up until water flows out that front port there. So there you go, that means he's pretty much all full. There's a bit of water coming through there. So I think that'll be his new home for a little while. We'll just see how it goes. I can always move him further up into the front yard if he needs a bit more sun. But yeah, I think he should take off fine there. So there's a quick little look at the Kang and how it's gone up to now, and how hopefully I'm going to get it to overwinter in the soil and through to next summer. The little wicking buckets, I think that's a good idea for the Kang because they get to keep nice moist feet. With the pot just sitting in a tray, we tended to get some of those anaerobic odours that you get, and also as a breeding ground for mosquitoes, which is a problem we have here in southeast Queensland as well. So I definitely think the wicking buckets might put a stop to both the smell and the mozzies breeding in there. Also too, it will retain the moisture longer in case some wombat forgets to water them. The plants over in the plane flying overhead, the plants down there in the aquaponics, I think both of them will survive winter if I baby them through by giving them a good haircut, but I will only be leaving that one on the corner at the back. That's the spot that will receive the most amount of sunlight, and also too, I can get the plant to grow over the side of the grow bed and it won't be taking up space. I plan to put a couple of brassicas down there, hopefully broccoli or two, or maybe a cauliflower, so we'll just see what happens there. That's a different clip. So yeah, any comments, questions, suggestions on either the Kang or a quick little build on the wicking bucket, just drop them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. Other than that, I hope you all have a great one and take it easy. Cheers!